What's up, everybody?
Happy Sunday.
We're later than normal, but had to get my coffee.
We're actually not
I drank
later than normal.
Well, maybe a little bit more,
standard.
about 10 minutes. I drank my coffee too fast this morning, so I had to make another little cup.
I made a cup too. Another cup.
We took a week off. Why did we take a week off?
Because of coffee. We were out drinking all the coffee last weekend at
We are
DC Coffee Festival.
great examples of how just because one person says something doesn't mean that's how it is. There are people out there, experts, who say coffee is bad for you. You shouldn't have coffee. It's going to halt your progress, all of the different things.
Well,
it's going to poison you.
That.
It's got mold. It's got bugs. It's got anti-nutrients. It's
mycotoxins.
got all of these things. Guess what? I don't give a flying.
Cheers.
Cheers to the
coffee lovers out there.
Actually, that's another good example. Total, before we even get started, that video we watched this morning, where those 4 people were talking about how squats are bad and whatever else. The idea of risk versus reward is a perfectly valid discussion, but no matter where we're coming from and what our experience is or how much we know about something, like the mistake that they made in that video is assuming that the answer to their risk versus reward question is what everyone should do. Just because I evaluate something at this risk versus reward and decide not to do it or to do it, doesn't mean that same evaluation that everyone else has.
Right.
Risk versus reward is 100% personal, subjective, and individual.
Yep.
So just because I decide, great example, that overhead squats aren't worth it. They don't mean anything. They don't do anything for me. And I have bad shoulders. It's probably not a good idea for me to do overhead squats. That doesn't mean someone else can't get benefit.
But now that's bad for everyone.
It doesn't mean overhead squats are bad.
Well, and where we see this the most is in diet cultures.
Yeah. This didn't work for me, or I don't think it's worth it, so no one should do it.
Yep.
That's not how this works, guys.
Or this healed me and fixed me and saved me, so everyone should do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my God, guys.
This is what I was going to talk about. Is our current
I'm going to see if I never
obsession.
went to look and see if they sell it online, because you said they don't sell it online.
I think they said that particular one was not online.
We're going to find out.
So last weekend,
Swings Coffee Roasters.
Last weekend we went to the DC Coffee Festival. We tried a million different coffees.
You look like a snack right now.
Come sit down. I'm
getting my coffee and taking in the view.
You're distracting me.
You're distracting me. All right, we got...
So this was the second coffee we tried at the festival, I think.
Second coffee we tried.
And
but we tried it as a cold brew. Because they had it
was
as a
it
cold,
only a cold brew?
Yeah, they had a cold brew.
So they had this, it's a bourbon barrel-aged coffee.
Ethiopian coffee.
And aged in 5-year-old barrels, green apple and sweet bourbon.
Barrels.
Scent, I guess.
Yeah, oh my God. Flavor.
Notes is
it's flavor. So basically it has
the flavor
alcohol too, but when they roast it, it cooks the alcohol off.
Yeah.
So there's no alcohol, but it literally has a bourbon flavor to it. It's so good.
I discovered a new spice company.
All right, let's see what they have.
Spice and Nice DC. I've been posting about them on my stories because I'm obsessed with their spices. They have a vanilla lavender that I put with the bourbon, so I'm getting a bourbon vanilla vibe in my cup. So that's what I have right now. But this stuff is so good. Coffee. It is so easy to drink without anything in it.
If you aren't a fan of just coffee black because it's too bitter, too harsh.
Oh my God.
This so cold, hot, it doesn't matter.
It's so smooth. The whole room smells.
Right. Oh, you open up the cabinet and it's just like.
And then when we brew it, the whole entire house
they got
smells.
limited.
Oh, and it says in stock, so maybe they were out of stock.
So we're going to buy some more of that because the only problem with it is it's only a 6-ounce bag.
And it's $20 for
But
a
I mean,
6-ounce bag.
it's worth it. I'm buying more bags. I'm also buying more Keto Brains because we're out of Keto Brains, almost out of Keto Brains.
Bronson has been home most of this week.
Yeah, we don't need to get into that too much.
And may end up being home next week. We don't know.
We don't know. But
so he's drinking more coffee
Keto Brains at home than I normally do because I left a bag at work.
Which is why we need more of this, because this isn't going to last very long.
The bourbon stuff's not going to last very long, and Keto Brains is almost out, so we need to buy some Keto Brains.
So Karen said she just reordered her Keto Brains. So if you need some Keto Brains, use our code Keto Rehab, 20% off.
Which they don't do at all. Oh, speaking of which, another thing I need to plug.
Well, before we do that, let's remind everyone about Keto Brains. So make some comments today, ask questions. We love it when you ask questions on the live, either on YouTube or Instagram. We will pick a winner. We pick a winner every week to win a bag of Keto Brains for free. So engage with us in the comments throughout the chat today. We have a lot to talk about today. So there's a lot of interesting topics.
We're going to try to talk more nutrition and fitness stuff.
And body composition and all kinds of stuff. So ask your questions.
Without getting into mindset.
Right. We're going to try really hard not to dive deep into mindset as we always do. But ask your questions. Stay on till the end. If you're on at the end and you ask a question throughout the chat at some point, then
toss your name into a virtual hat for a bag of Keto Brains. So this is something that never happens. So Prime Day.
Amazon Prime big deal day.
Oh, apparently this says through now. Our fall Prime sale will be available now through October 8th. Oh, I thought it was just on October 8th. So now through October 8th, so for the first week, I guess, of October.
Wednesday.
InBody, if you guys are familiar with InBody at-home body composition scanners, we have one. We've had one for years. We just got their new version, which I like a lot. It includes visceral fat, which the old version doesn't.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And it does more segmental. It does the upper body, like that one. The old one doesn't do a lot of that stuff. But InBody is doing a 25% discount. That's crazy. They're giving me 25%. So I have a code that you can use, Coach Bronson. You normally get 20%. And this is why they're doing this. Their Prime sale is 20% off.
Okay.
But because I'm an affiliate, they're giving me an extra 5.
Ah, okay.
So if you use my code, that's a limited time only to the 8th.
Special code
Prime BD25. Because it's for Prime Day. Bronson Dant 25.
Not the other BD.
Not the other BD. Okay. So if you go to their website, if anybody's in the market for a good body composition scanner, get it. I highly recommend it. I've been a fan and a supporter of InBody for almost 10 years now. 2016, I think, is when I got the first one that I ever used. Highly recommend. They have the dial H20, the dial H30. The H30 is what we use. Fantastic.
InBody was very kind to me today. I think a little too generous, actually. I mean, my weight has been up like 1.5 pounds for the third day in a row. But today, interestingly, it gave me credit for more skeletal muscle mass than I've ever seen before, and my body fat percentage dropped.
That's awesome.
I've been sitting at
You were in a funk yesterday morning.
It wasn't about that.
Oh, it wasn't about that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, that might have been part of it, but no. It was just because it's been like, this is the third day now. So, I mean, yesterday wasn't a surprise. It was just like, all right, we're still hanging out 1.5 pounds up. But my body fat percentage had been sitting at like 17, 18%, somewhere in there, bobbling up and down. And then today it said 15%.
Whoop.
At the same weight, which is like, I just talked about this on my Zoom yesterday in the group about y'all. Do not take these things like heavily. Do not let these things weigh on you heavily. When you see changes in your body composition day to day, oh, my body fat is up, my body fat is down, my skeletal muscle mass is up, my muscle mass is down. You're not gaining and losing body fat or muscle mass in a 24-hour period every other day. You're not putting on 2 pounds of muscle and taking it off again. Like, it doesn't happen that way. It's just because these scales are using estimates. So they're never measuring the tissue in your body. They're not actually measuring exactly how much tissue you have. So, take them with a grain of salt, basically.
Yeah.
But I was like, whoa, 15%, that can't be right. Let me do a second scan just in case. And then it gave me 16%. So I'm like, okay, something with my fluid balance is obviously shifting what it's
You got to squeeze the left glute harder while you relax your right arm.
So we'll see what happens over the next few days.
I've played around with that before to try to see if different tensions in my body change the readings.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay. Ready? You guys ready for the first question? I got this question 8 times.
Whoa, okay.
By the same person on 8 different YouTube videos on my YouTube channel.
I thought you were saying 8 different people.
No. One person commented on 8 different videos on my YouTube channel
so they
asking the
really
same
wanted
question.
you to answer. Okay. What's the question?
How many meals to build muscle?
Well.
And I said, it doesn't really matter. And they're like, well, but what do you do?
Well, it depends on what's in those meals.
What I do has nothing to do with what you might need to do, right?
I could say 10 meals, but we don't know what's in your meals. So,
how many meals do you need to eat to build muscle, babe?
You're not going to build muscle if you don't eat exactly 6 meals a day.
It's got to be 6 meals. It has to be a minimum of 25.7 grams of leucine.
Hopefully y'all are catching the sarcasm.
Sarcasm. Yes.
Okay. There actually is, though, some recommendation we can make here.
It's going to be really simple because it's total daily intake. That's all that matters.
Total daily intake is the most important thing. However,
there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Well, there's a couple of things, right? So particularly we're talking about muscle building, right? Mm-hmm. So there is something that you want to make sure you're doing with your meals, whether it's 1 meal or 10 meals a day, to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, to drive muscle protein synthesis through the stimulation of mTOR. And that is consume enough protein in that meal. So if you're having 10 meals of 10 grams of protein in each meal and they're all spread out by a couple of hours or longer, you may not be maximizing your muscle building potential. But that doesn't mean you can't build muscle doing that. Because once again, the overall intake for the day is what's most important.
Well, I want to buck the trend a little bit here and say the problem for most people, making the assumption that you realize if you're trying to build muscle, you need more protein. So you increase your protein, or you're trying to increase your protein. Assuming that part of the equation is being met, you're trying to get as much protein as possible in your day. How many meals you have and whether you're using your meals to trigger mTOR doesn't matter if you're not working out hard enough. Your protein intake does nothing for you if you're not regularly stimulating muscle to make it work. So you could eat 3 meals a day as the optimal 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal, get your optimal leucine intake to maximize the most mTOR and muscle protein synthesis possible from the food that you eat. that, let's just say, in comparison, is 5% of the total stimulus that you could be getting if you were also regular resistance and strength training. The resistance and strength training is where you get the muscle building. Getting the protein is what makes the muscle building happen if you are resistance and strength training.
It's the recovery part of it.
Just eating protein is not your answer. It will be better for you. And is there some benefit for someone who has been chronically under eating protein for years? Absolutely. Getting to a baseline of, hey, you're giving your body what you need is going to improve metabolic performance. It's going to improve hormone function. It's going to improve just the way that you feel, etc. If you're trying to get to that level of physical freedom, fitness, independence, changing how your body looks, feeling better about yourself, having more confidence in what your body can do, you have to incorporate the training piece. It doesn't matter how many meals a day. It doesn't matter none of that other stuff matters.
Here's the answer I would give. How many meals to build muscle? As many meals as it takes for you to hit your protein target in a day.
Bingo. There we go. If we want to keep it to the food piece, then yes,
that's
as many meals as it takes.
And that's what's individual.
That's a great answer.
You could have Sean Baker could eat a 3-pound steak in one meal in a day and be fine. Digestion wise, assimilation wise, feeling great.
You couldn't do that, though.
There's no freaking way. No freaking way. I need a good minimum 2 large meals and maybe a smaller meal, or 3 solid meals in a day for me to hit my protein target comfortably. Because if I tried to do that with an OMAD, I'd be so uncomfortable. Good luck going to the gym.
Yeah. You wouldn't be able to get out the chair, out the couch.
Yeah.
Off the couch.
And I'd be starving for like 8 hours of the day that I wasn't eating that one meal.
You wouldn't be, I don't think you'd be starving. You'd be complaining about how bloated you felt all for.
I would be bloated for like 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
And then the next day, waiting for my one meal, I'd be starving.
Yeah.
It would not be optimal in that regard. So the most important, the key piece here is what is optimal for me, like we were saying earlier. This guy's question, how many meals to build muscle? Well, how many do you need? And that's why I would put it back on you.
Yep.
How many meals do you need
That's a great
to hit
answer.
your optimal protein intake for the
That's
day?
a great answer. That answers that question pretty succinctly.
Yeah.
As many as is needed. Hope that helps.
And I will say this too. If, let's say, you are bedbound post-surgery, for example,
That is a great example
eating
of
protein without strength training will actually help your recovery in that process.
Yes. Let's talk about that real quick, because we do get people saying, hey, I have this thing coming. What do I do?
Yeah.
The 2 things you want to do before surgery. If you know you have a surgery coming up in a couple months or whatever, generally increase your protein more than you would think, right? Load it up, okay? And get as much muscle building time in the gym as you can. The more muscle you have, the more protein storage, literally, guys, this is what we're talking about, the more protein storage you have available. Muscle is your protein storage. So eating more protein, building more muscle, when you're laying up in bed for 3 months after surgery and you can't move, that is where your body is going to pull from if it needs it. Now, obviously, you want to eat afterwards as well, so you don't need to access that. You want to get as much protein in your food, in your meals after the surgery, but building a sink, what we call a sink, a storage center, storage location for protein, is never going to do you wrong. So
Now, don't get it twisted. Don't think that storing protein is the same thing as storing fat or storing carbs.
Right.
Sugar. Those are fuel sources that you're storing for that can be tapped into and utilized later.
Well,
protein is not a fuel source. When he says storage of protein, it's like your actual tissues in your body are the storage of protein.
It builds the tissue. Yeah, it's the difference between having a gas tank versus a barn full of lumber.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You can use the lumber to build things, right? And it's there if you need it. And if
For
you don't need
function,
it, then you would say, hey, this lumber is intended to build another barn, it's intended to build a deck, or it's intended for this, whatever, but I ran out of gas, so I have to burn some of it for energy.
But there's a process
right?
that
But
has
there's a
to go
process.
through
I've got to burn through all the gas
it's
first.
not readily available.
I'm not
as
trying
energy.
to use that for energy if I don't
Yes.
have to.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Exactly. Yeah, and there's a common misconception. People thinking, well, we hear this all the time. Well, I'm not a bodybuilder, so I don't need as much protein.
Everybody's a bodybuilder.
Oh, because I'm not training, I don't need that much protein. In fact, you might need more protein if you're not training.
To maintain, to help, yeah.
But that's something I hear all the time. Well, I'm not an athlete, I don't train, I'm not a bodybuilder, so I don't need that much protein. You need more protein if you're and yes, you're in the gym breaking down your muscles, so yes, you do need to feed that so that it repairs, for sure. But just because you don't consider yourself a bodybuilder or an athlete doesn't mean you don't need protein.
I want to respond to that, but we're trying not to be mindset today. Because there's a whole mindset discussion about identifying as an athlete.
Oh gosh, yeah. We're not going to get into that today. Let's go to the next
Save that for another talk. All right, so that's meals, muscle, all that stuff. This is a topic that's a carryover from the master class we did on Monday.
Okay.
But I had it on here, and it kind of came up.
We talked about metabolic flexibility on Monday. If you missed that, check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, and there's actually two that I saw this post. Let's start with this one.
Okay.
Let's start with this one because it might lead into this one.
Okay.
I saw this post the other day, and I was like,
Triggered.
by someone who I respect, although lately their content has been going sideways. It's another thing we could talk about.
There's so much of that right now. Yeah.
Here's the statement. Metabolic health and diets are cyclical, not static. Harm happens when your diet is not flexible.
Okay, break down what they mean by that.
Basically, you should be cycling between different types of diets and different foods. This is where either straight up being metabolically flexible is applied, or some people say you should be eating seasonally.
Oh, seasonally.
Or you shouldn't be eating the same thing all the time because your body will adapt to it and no longer get benefit. All of these concepts around you have to keep changing things up to keep your body, I don't even know what, because it doesn't make freaking sense.
Well, and that's my question is, what is the argument here?
Right. The argument, I think, is conflating the difference between individual environment and goals and experience and condition and health status and age and time, all of the different things, stress, all of the things that impact your body and change your body. Mm-hmm. How those things change versus what is optimal for health. And what's happening is people are saying, because we talk about it all the time, what works for you now isn't going to work for you 5 years from now. That's not because your body has adapted to something and now you have to change it because it's not working anymore. Your body hasn't adapted. Your body adapts to your food, your nutrition, and your exercise by balancing out to support the consistent effort and changes you're putting in place. If you never change your exercise and if you never change what you're eating, your body will adapt to that and it will live there. The whole idea of homeostatic balance. Everything your body is doing is trying to maintain a balance. So if you implement something and you never change it, your body will live there indefinitely.
The question
That's what's called maintenance.
The question is that where you want your body to live?
There we go. So then we throw into, is that where you want your body to live? Is it a stepping stone to something else? Are you progressively overloading in your training? Are you trying to improve your muscle mass and get more lean? Do you have additional stresses? Do you have a medical issue? Are you on medications? The list goes on and on and on. So the idea that everyone's focusing on eating a certain way and changing how you eat in order to optimize your metabolism based on some mythical, imaginary reverse adaptation that your body has to how you eat. I don't even know how to explain it because it just doesn't make logical sense to me.
Well, once again, I would say the question is, are you in a position where you need to improve your metabolic health?
Well, but it's not even
Because if
right. Well, but it's not
that's
even
why
that.
you're changing something to improve something.
Correct.
Do you need to improve something or not? Like, are you
Right.
optimized?
Well, but it's not even that. It's this arbitrary, you should eat different things based on the season. The fuck does the season have to do with it? My body doesn't know if it's winter or spring. My body knows.
It's because that's what our ancestors did.
Yeah,
So
because that's
what
how we
should
base
do.
everything, right? Because, yeah.
That's what we would have done.
That's
before
what
civilization.
we would have done. And this is, see, now we're getting into stuff for school because there's a whole nother, we're actually going through evolutionary
Oh yeah, that's right.
changes in, we're actually knee deep
You know,
in that
it's
stuff
so
right now,
funny
that conversation.
that at the beginning of your PhD, not PhD, your
Doctorate.
doctorate, you're studying what was at the beginning of my nutritional therapy practitioner
Oh, really?
certification.
Yeah.
It's like the exact same
We're
chapter.
going through all the evolutionary theory behind the change in hunter-gatherer to agricultural
Ours was
to
called
modern
Evolution
time.
of the Modern Diet. That was the name of that chapter.
Similar, yeah, basically. Yeah, we're talking about the mismatch hypothesis now. Did all of the agricultural changing to agriculture versus hunter-gatherer help us or hurt us as a human race? Anyways,
Yeah.
so my take on the whole, you should be shifting your nutrition based on seasons or based on some external thing. And here's the crux. If you're evaluating whether you need to make a change based on an external stimulus, or not even stimulus, an external factor that doesn't actually affect your biology or your life, it's probably not going to impact you in a way that you think it is. Okay? What you should be looking at is internal. Where am I trying to go? What am I dealing with? What is the goals and where do I want to be? When do I want to be there? How am I going to get there? That should be the focus. So making a change based on some hyperbolic scientific reasoning that you should be changing your nutrition every 30 days, or you need to confuse your muscles by switching up your workouts every
2 weeks.
2 weeks, or all of these random, like somebody came up with this thing that says you have to change things around all the time.
Shopping the answers out to some expert who knows better than I do. So, and we were just talking about this morning too, about anybody can learn how to read a study and understand scientific literature.
Easier than ever.
But what do we do instead? Watch some guru's YouTube channel,
Yep.
one video, and decide they're the expert. We just decide that they know best. And so I should follow their advice without ever double checking it
Right.
for ourselves, because we don't trust ourselves that we would actually
Let's
know.
give some practical. So I was talking to you about this today.
Yeah.
Everybody has access to become absolutely phenomenal at understanding scientific research and applying it to your life, because now everybody has access to AI. Okay, everybody has access to ChatGPT. Over the past couple of years, just the past 6 months, ChatGPT has gotten absolutely phenomenal at reviewing, summarizing, and explaining individual papers. If you give it 5 papers and say, do whatever, it's going to get confused. But if you upload 1 paper, go to a website, find somebody that posts something about whatever, find the study they're referencing, download the PDF, load it up into ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, summarize this paper and explain to me the key points. I'm interested in X, Y, or Z. How does this paper apply to that, whatever that is? It will give you a whole bunch and it will understand and figure out and explain to you. And then you can continue to have a conversation with it. Does this apply to me? Give it some information about yourself. I'm dealing with this. I have this medication. I'm overweight. I'm trying to get here. I want it. And it will give you information about whether the context of that paper applies to you. And if it does, you could ask it. It sounds like this applies. How could I implement this in my daily life? And it will give you some ideas. And you can start learning how to look at all of the stuff that people are giving you. And you have no excuse to get led astray by just following somebody.
And you
have
can
the
take what
there.
somebody says and you can put it in ChatGPT and you
absolutely.
can say, hey, is there scientific literature that backs this up?
Yep.
Is there evidence of this?
Yep, 100%. And there are people that will make claims and not put links in. Like I did a post today. I did a post today where I basically talk about carbs for exercise, and I reference that there's new studies and research. I didn't link anything because there's too many things to link, right? But you could copy that text and say, hey, Coach Bronson said this. Can you find any information or studies that support what he says? And then it will find stuff for you and you can take a look at it. So everybody has the ability now, more than ever, to not just access the information, but to understand the information. And if you're not taking the time to do that, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. So that's that. We got a couple comments.
Okay, we had a lot of comments. Let's see what the chat is saying.
All right. Let's see. These ones I looked at already.
Let's go down to this topic.
Dustin said, I remember the first time I saw a keto influencer say to give up coffee. I didn't watch her anymore. Claire, scale, nice, my scale.
How long would you consider a trend?
Ooh, how long do you consider a stall?
So, okay, so.
Most people, for me, 6 weeks at least is a trend.
So
depending on the situation, maybe 4 weeks, but.
Yeah, I was going to say, I go shorter term because, for example, when newbies are coming into the academy, for example, I'm trying to set some things based on where they've been.
Yeah.
So I need to make a quick decision about where I think they're headed and where we think we need to set things in terms of like macros and stuff like that, right? So I will take a week of data. If they have more to give me, great. I'll take a couple weeks of data and then we go from there, right? But that's just a starting place. So I would say, I would probably say the same thing. 4 to 6 weeks is a good amount of time to notice trends, especially with women. You also have, and even my peri and postmenopause ladies, our hormones are still fluctuating. So we could have weeks where the trend is going up and then the trend goes down and then the trend goes up. So we really need more time to see, is there an actual trend here?
There's two things there. It depends on the fluctuation of the numbers. The more fluctuation there is, the longer we have to go.
Yeah.
It depends on the fluctuation of your consistency.
Yes.
Sometimes you can be 100% consistent, but because of things like menopause, your numbers may be going all crazy.
Or because of your regular cycles.
And you need to kind of figure out what's going on. Yeah, or your regular cycle. If
More
you're
so than
inconsistent, that makes it even harder because now you may still have those issues hormonally, but you're also being inconsistent. You can't tell trends in that period of time.
Yeah.
So it's not just the time that matters.
Yes.
If you are consistent, then we can look at 4 to 6 weeks. If you're inconsistent, it could be months before we see a trend that makes a difference.
Yeah.
So the more consistent you are, the shorter the time frame we can use to identify trends.
Now I want to speak to the stall piece.
Yes.
So number one, if you are not tracking consistently, you are not going to be able to identify a stall.
Yes.
So, or trends. You're not going to be able to identify trends.
Either. I'm using it for
or
both.
a stall.
I'm using it for both.
If you're not tracking consistently both your metrics, your biometrics, and your inputs, right? If you're not tracking what you're eating, so you have no idea what your macros are on a regular basis. You don't know how much food you're consuming overall.
Yeah.
You don't know how much fat versus protein versus carbs you're eating. And then at the same time, you decide you're going to weigh yourself once every blue moon, and you weigh the same thing today as you did 2 months ago. And you're like, I'm stalled for 2 months.
Right.
You have no idea what happened within that time.
And if you're just looking at weight, that's another thing. So
yeah.
Here's another aspect of the stall piece. And I'm going to say this. If you are looking at your journey holistically from a mindset perspective, from a relationship with food, relationship with your body, all of those types of areas, health, fitness, performance in the gym, freedom, quality of life, physical capacity,
any symptoms,
body composition, not just weight, health, medication. If you're looking at all of these things as part of your journey, you will never stall if you are being consistent with what you're doing. You may not see movement in one of those areas, but that doesn't define a stall because you could have 5 other areas that are getting better. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the idea of stall, we need to reframe as more than just your weight hasn't moved.
Oh my God. In fact,
right?
If you're on a recomp journey, you have the goal of losing body fat and building muscle, you're not going to see the scale move.
It's very likely your scale won't move
In fact, that's the goal. The goal is to not have the scale move.
And for some of you ladies, particularly, it might get heavier.
Yes.
Because you need to be heavier. You need some body fat. You need some muscle.
Yeah.
Okay? So understanding that when it comes to stalls, define what you mean very specifically, and then understand it is impossible to have a stall. So if you are able to define what you mean by stall, then by definition, you're only looking at one thing and you're missing a whole bunch of other things you could be looking at, right? That's one of the biggest things about the fitness aspect that I love and I talk about whenever I get a chance to talk or speak about it is the potential for growth, the potential for expanding your vision and your dreams and your horizon of what your journey looks like, right? I think in my talk on the cruise a couple of years ago, I talked about most people are looking at weight and it's like looking at the ground while you're walking and you run into a wall. And you just keep running into a wall, running into a wall, running into a wall because you're looking at the ground, you're looking right in front of you. And if you just picked your head up and added in all of the other things, how strong are you? How much energy do you have? Yep. Do you can you do things you couldn't do before? Are you getting rid of medication?
You cannot determine.
All of these things. There's so much more out there.
You cannot determine trends just on weight alone. Right. You can't.
Right. So hope that answers that question.
Yeah. Good question. I'm glad you asked it.
We got a couple more actually. I used to do OMAD following another influencer, but knowing what I know now, I wasn't eating enough, okay?
And that's something we see a big problem with people doing OMAD. They're doing OMAD for weight loss because they're looking at the weight only, and they're significantly under eating, particularly protein, because it is difficult to get enough protein in the day to hit actual body composition goals and all those other markers we're talking about beyond just weight loss. It's difficult to eat enough protein for most people in one meal a day.
Yeah. So Dustin brings up a question that I was going to talk about.
Okay.
He says, I have questions about that too. When we are staying carnivore most of the time, someone then adds in broccoli and they get gastric distress and broccoli is blamed. But what about gut biome?
Oh boy.
Okay. So this is where we get into definitions and people misconstruing the idea of metabolic flexibility. Metabolic flexibility isn't about being able to eat different things without having distress. That is not metabolic flexibility.
Totally different concept.
Okay. What we're talking about there is we're talking about your digestive system adapting to what you consistently provide it.
Once again, homeostasis.
Okay? Homeostasis. If I keep giving it this, it's going to physically prepare to support this intake. Here's an example, and I should talk to you about this morning. Has anybody ever used a seasoning consistently? Salt, garlic, something. Every time they open it up, they shake it out, put it on the food, put it back, no big deal. I use it every day. It's ready, it's available. I need to refill it sometimes because it's empty, whatever. And then you get a recipe or you get a hankering for something that you haven't had in like 6 months. And then you go up in your cabinet, you pull it out of the back, and you're like, oh, and you try to, and you open it up and you go like this and nothing happens. Right? And you got to unscrew it, get your knife out or fork, and you kind of jab it all together and get it ready to be used again. That is what adaptation is in your body. Your body has enzymes that are specifically designed to work with specific foods.
And break them down so that you can get
vegetarians.
The nutrients out
Vegetarians
of
is
that
a
food.
great idea. Is a great example. If you're a vegetarian or a vegan and you're not eating meat, and then you eat meat and you feel like crap afterwards, it's not because meat's bad for you. It's because your body has not physically prepared. You haven't told your body. You haven't given your body a stimulus that it has to go, oh, protein, I need to produce protease as an enzyme that will allow me to break this protein down and use it. Now, when you do that day 1, and then you do that day 2, and then you do that day 3, there's a process we call upregulation, where that repeated stimulus causes your body to keep producing what it needs in response to the food that you're giving it. Okay, so we can call it training. I don't like to call it training, but that gets the idea across because your body doesn't have any knowledge of what's happening. It is literally a pre-programmed response. So when someone doesn't eat green vegetables for years and then they eat some broccoli and feel like crap, it's simply that their body has not adapted. Now, here's the cool thing about this that we all need to understand. That is an example of how all adaptations are not always beneficial. Just because you're adapted to eating broccoli doesn't mean broccoli is good for you. Okay? There's a word that I love when it comes to plant-based foods in particular, and that is tolerance. Many people can tolerate certain vegetables and their body can adapt to breaking those down and getting something out of them. That doesn't mean they are good for them, and that doesn't mean that other people aren't or are as tolerant. Okay? Just because your body can adapt to something doesn't mean it's good. Chronic stress is another example. Many people's bodies adapt to chronic stress by keeping cortisol skyrocketed through the roof. That is a harmful situation. Insulin resistance is a chronic adaptation that is harmful to you.
We should talk about this. I like this comment
right?
here. And I'm going to go back, T. Flowers Zone, ask about taking digestive enzymes. I'm going to go back to that in a minute. But first I want to address this because this gets into the metabolic flexibility thing. The difference between metabolic flexibility and digestion, gut health, things of that nature.
Right.
So Ketonian 5 says, so this applies to introducing carbs back in, like sweet potato. After being strict keto for 10 years, for example, I've become super sensitive to carbs. My glucose goes crazy with a little potato. So this is different.
What's your goal?
Here's the thing. There could be there could be more than one thing happening here for people. A person could not react well digestively to sweet potato.
Right.
And might be fine with plantains.
Yeah.
Or rice or something like that.
Or a banana.
Right?
Like we've seen people have different responses to different things. Yeah.
Same thing with glucose, actually. I mean, matter of fact, I love Rob Wolf's book. Which one was it? That has the 7-day carb test.
I don't remember.
It wasn't the paleo solution. It was the one he did after that. Wired to Eat. Wired to Eat.
Yep.
So he has the 7-day carb test at the end of that book, and he talks about how you can test individual carbs for your glucose response. That is glucose response that's different from digestive, pancreatic enzymes and being able to digestively handle
right, because you could eat something that doesn't bother you digestively, but it skyrockets your glucose, or vice versa. You could eat something that's like, oh my God, I feel like crap, but nothing happens with your glucose response.
Yes.
So what are you trying to do, and where are you trying to go?
Now this is interesting. She says, or he, I don't know, Ketonian 5. Like my spike is crazy compared to when I was non-keto. So before you were keto.
So there's a difference. If your baseline was higher because you were already had high glucose, then your spike is going to be lower because relatively it's less of a jump.
Right.
If you're lower now, then yeah, it's going to be a higher spike. So
And
it's a relative discussion.
Even if you're a person who consumes carbs fairly consistently, you could have a day where you're not eating all day because you're running around, and then you have a high carb meal or a high carb food without the presence of protein and fat to slow down the digestion, and you could get a crazy glucose spike. Yeah. So there's a lot more that plays into glucose spikes than just being keto or not keto. It can be an acute response because that sweet potato was in isolation.
Right.
Or it was cooked and cooled and it's resistant starch versus being cooked the first time.
Yeah.
Or you have it with fat and a steak, and you eat the steak first and then the sweet potato.
Or
you might have a different
response. Sweet potato with a ton of butter, cheese, and sour cream, and now you've got fat and carbs coming in at the same time, and a lot of stuff can go into that. So this is where self-experimentation, trying to figure out where you're going. If you're more worried about your glucose response than gut health, what are you going to do with those two, potentially conflicting things? There's a lot of,
And it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, the risk versus reward.
Right, risk versus
reward. What
am
I striving to attain?
Is it helping me get where I want to go?
Am I insulin resistant? Right. Do I have metabolic syndrome? Do I have prediabetes? Do I have diabetes? That's going to be different if you're us.
I'll eat a baked potato.
If I have a sweet potato and my blood glucose rises, guess what? In a couple of hours, it's going to be back down to normal.
Right.
And then a couple hours later, I'm probably going to be back in ketosis. It's not going to impact anything. So who cares if I get a big spike in glucose?
Right.
Okay. So there's a lot more to consider.
Hold on. We're getting, okay.
But this, I want you to address the next.
Yeah. So keto does not make you insulin resistant.
Read the comment so people know what you're talking.
Could be because I've become sensitive, or some people say keto makes you insulin resistant. Okay.
We should talk about the
keto does not make you insulin resistant.
Pathogenic versus physiological.
We don't even need to get into all that.
Okay, let's just plug Ben Bickman.
Yes.
Watch Ben Bickman on.
That's a good way to do it.
Physiological insulin resistance
versus pathological
insulin resistance.
Yeah. Being keto, if you are focusing on whole foods, animal-based methods of keto, you are not going to cause insulin resistance. If you are doing it with a bunch of processed food and keto-labeled junk food that is just as bad as the stuff that's not labeled keto,
maybe even worse,
it's very likely that you're not going to see much of a difference. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, it could be contraindicated for problems. Okay? So I would be careful with character, and this is always, me in definitions, characterizing keto, be very specific in how you're doing your keto.
Right.
And I posted about this the other day. It is very possible, and we see it all of the time, for people to do keto wrong.
Yes, you just posted.
I just posted about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
keto.
Here's a great example. Studies that come out that say keto causes more inflammation, keto causes cardiovascular risk, and then they're using canola oil as their fat in their ketogenic protocols. Well, yeah, if you're shoving 80% canola oil, inflammatory oils into somebody, it's going to cause more inflammation.
And that had nothing to do
with keto, but it's technically a high-fat diet.
That's the problem.
Right? So how you define these things is more important than the name you're using. And don't bundle everything all up into one.
What I really want to get across here is insulin resistance and insulin sensitivity is not the same thing as acute glucose response.
Thank you. That's where I was going to say next. Just because your glucose goes up after eating something doesn't mean you're insulin resistant. You can expect after you eat some things that your glucose is going to go up. It should come down fairly quickly. Okay, this is what she was talking about. As people who have been keto for 8 to 10 years
plus 15,
right?
Yeah.
We can eat something. I could have a pint of ice cream and my glucose will go up. and then it will come back down. Insulin resistance is when you have that sweet potato and it goes up.
It stays up.
And it's like a kite floating around up there forever because it never comes back down again because the insulin response isn't working.
And it's chronically high.
Okay, that's the problem. Yeah. So if it goes up and comes back down, that is, if anything,
that's a normal physiological
clarification
response.
That you are insulin sensitive.
Yes.
So it's not something to worry about.
And that is not the same as, because she says, is it because I've become sensitive? When people say sensitive to, right? Like I'm sensitive to this food, right. That's not the same thing as being insulin sensitive. We want to be insulin sensitive.
Correct. Gut response and sensitive and glucose response are two different things.
Yeah.
Insulin sensitivity and glucose response have nothing to do with your digestive process. Okay, so if something makes you feel like crap when you eat it, that's got nothing to do with if it raises your blood sugar or have insulin response and that stuff. So Two separate things.
Okay, speaking of, let's go back to...
we're going to be on forever because we got good questions today.
And this was the question that T. Flower said, what about cooked and cooled starches better for insulin sensitivity?
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily better for insulin sensitivity, it's just lower overall glucose response, typically, because they're resistant starch instead of
which really I think it's picking hairs because it still your body still has to do something with it.
Yeah. In fact,
so just because it doesn't spike it, I'm pretty sure that the rise is lower, but it's for longer.
It might have a difference, right? It could change your glucose response to that food. However, it could actually create more gut distress.
Yeah.
Because now you have
more fat gain.
Fibers you have to break down that your body doesn't break down. So you could end up having gas, bloating, difficult digestive issues. And then that was the question up here about digestive enzymes. So thoughts on taking digestive enzymes daily? I take them daily. I still take them daily all these years later.
Because you have all kinds of back history on how screwed up your gut is.
And so if, let's say, you're especially for a protein, because this is one of those things like he was saying about vegans and vegetarians. I have a lot of ladies come to me who chronically underate protein their entire lives, or at least since going keto, because they were told to keep their protein low. And they're having a hard time getting enough protein because they have a hard time breaking it down, and they feel sluggish and tired,
and bloated, and I can't eat all of this. Yeah.
When if you're one of those people who say meat sits in my stomach like a brick, that's not the way we want. I mean, that doesn't mean that meat is bad for you and that you should stop eating it, but you're going to need some supports. So absolutely, if you're experiencing that difficulty digesting your proteins, then you could look for a protease. If you are a person who, let's say, low carb, not carnivore, not super low carb keto, and you eat a wide variety of things and you enjoy that and that works well for you, but you have a hard time breaking things down, then maybe a full spectrum digestive enzyme that has, lipase
and or straight up stomach HCl acid.
Right, so that's a little different. Yeah, so the digestive enzymes are for the specific
types
foods, right? So there's lipase for fats and amylase for sugars and lactase for dairy sugars and protease for protein and things of that nature. And there's a whole bunch of others as well.
All the aces.
But then for also that can help for protein in general is betaine HCl, which is hydrochloric acid. It's basically what's in your stomach. But if you're not producing enough stomach acid, which also can happen from not consuming enough protein for years, for decades. Also, if you're ever a person like I was who had GERD or acid reflux and you were put on PPIs, acid blockers for years, that will reduce your stomach acid over time. So I still take HCl and enzymes with my meals every day. What about if you reheat potatoes? Does the glucose response go back to original level? You both are so incredible with sharing your knowledge. Thank you. No, it's supposed to be, so as many times as you cook and cool and cook and cool, it's becoming more and more resistant starch. So, but all that being said, like we said before about the whole 7-day carb test thing, for example, that doesn't mean that's the way you're going to respond. So let me be very clear on this. There was a huge trend a while back about with influencers sharing their CGMs or their blood glucose monitors with this food and that food, and they tested out all these different things. That's not what you should do. That's how they responded. So if you want to see how your glucose responds to cooked and cooled
do the same
or
test.
Reheated, test it out for yourself and then you'll know.
Yeah.
You can't go off of what other people are doing or what studies say. You are an N equals 1.
We have to do a little mindset thing.
Okay.
Why are you asking?
Yeah, that's the question, right?
Right, because if you're worried about, if your goals are centered around fixing your health and insulin resistance, right? Maybe you have a problem with diabetes or basic insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome or something, and you're trying to reduce that. Then trying to find a way to do something that is going to harm you less than you want it to, but you know you probably shouldn't. Like there's a justification process that we see people go through trying to figure out what is the least harmful way that I can do something that's going to make me not give up what I don't want to give up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I challenge you, because this may not be your case in particular, but we've had a lot of people, and if you're listening and you're struggling with literally, I would rather eat my potato and risk the glucose response and potential issues with insulin resistance than give up my metformin. And that's the discussion some of you are having with yourselves.
Yeah.
I would rather this than this. Which one of those is going to be the pain that you were more willing to sacrifice for? And that is the discussion you have to have with yourself. That's similar to the risk reward, but that's more about what do you really want to change in your life? Right? And sometimes in order to get where you want to go, you have to let things go to get there.
I will, thanks. I love potatoes, but you know.
We've all been there, guys. It was French fries for me, so I know the deal. Ice cream and French fries for me. So, and we've all been there. Okay.
Yep.
Any more things here? Karen said this really interesting about the whole adaptation thing, where I was using seasonings. She said, does your car not function after years of using the same fuel?
Oh, that was about the foods.
Right. You don't have to change. I don't have to be like, oh, for 6 months, I'm going to use 85 octane. And then for a month, I got to switch out and use 83 just to balance it out. Like, what?
Once again, I think a lot of that happens for justification.
Right.
I want to justify eating these carbs that I like. So I'm saying it's because I have to do it for my health, because that's what the cavemen did when they could find berries in the summer. And I really love berries and I want to have my berries. So I'm doing it for this reason. Well, you know what? Just say you like this thing and you want to eat it.
Yeah. I'm going to make a statement. There are a lot of videos that I've seen in the past year and a half of people who were hardcore carnivore.
Oh, yeah.
Who are no longer carnivore because they needed carbs to feel good after doing carnivore for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the actual reasonings or thought processes or how any of them were actually doing anything.
Right.
I don't know how they were training. I don't know the protocols they were following. I don't know the concepts or how they were implementing carnivore in their life. All I can tell you is I have not seen, in all of the research that I have done, I have not seen anything that indicates lack of eating carbs will cause any physical problems or health concerns. That tells me there is something else going on. Also, let me just put this out there. The hundreds of people that I've worked with, and I had a short conversation with some other random person on the internet, some other coach who was talking about carbs. You need carbs, and carnivore is great short term, but you can't do it long term. And I basically said, 7 years, when do all these problems start? I've been doing it for 7 years. When should I start seeing problems? Because I haven't seen any yet. And none of my clients have, right? So all of these health issues of the reasons why I quit carnivore, I have not seen any data, nor have any of them provided any backing or insight into what was really going on. The only person that I've seen is Saladino, who went into depth, and he actually put out there, here's what I was doing. And right off the bat, I identified 2 or 3 things that he could have done differently. Electrolytes, too much lean meat. Like there's a whole but too much freaking organ meat. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff. Overtraining. There's a whole bunch of things that were in his specific circumstance that if he had done differently, he could have easily maintained carnivore. Carnivore wasn't the problem. How he was doing it was the problem. And it was not a lack of carbs or honey or berries that made the difference. I take that back. They absolutely made a difference because mechanistically, they did resolve some of the problems that he had from doing carnivore wrong. This is where we get into the confusion and the mix-up and everything else. Because yes, you can introduce carbs and see benefit if you're doing carnivore wrong. So it's a really challenging, nuanced contextual conversation to talk about these things. So
it's frustrating though when they're blaming carnivore for things that were not the fault of carnivore.
Correct.
I love this. T Flower says, I think I answered my thigh problems. Less potatoes. The question earlier was, what do I do for inner thighs? That's my problem area, right?
Yeah.
And I did want to actually answer that because 2 things. Any problem area in your body that you want to improve. People always think, women in particular, that you can work out a certain way to lose body fat in that area, right? How many times do we hear, my belly, my arms, what do I do for my arms? For this, right? 2 things have to happen to change your appearance in any particular area of your body. Build muscle, lose body fat.
Yeah.
Training a certain way can absolutely build up the muscles in that area, which will improve your appearance in that area as you lose body fat.
Right.
You cannot choose where you lose body fat and when. Your body just is going to do what it's going to do. The fat is going to come off from the areas it's going to come off in a distribution that you cannot control.
But you can build up the muscle.
But you can build the muscle there. So you can do things that target the adductors. Look up adductor exercises. The adductors are the muscles of your inner thigh. So if you do, and this is not just specifically spot training the adductors, which you can do with isolation movements, but squats, especially your sumo squats, your wide squats, single leg. I currently have a single leg.
Any single leg
I have a single
Bulgarians,
leg squat
lunges, and
in my program right now that is a killer for adductors. So you can absolutely do both of those things for any particular area of your body. Just know that you can't target where you lose fat.
I do want to. We had a comment. Jen commented, last week I saw a keto carnivore influencer just started eating carbs again. I hate the post she put on IG. Her post almost bashes carnivore. So I want to make...
A lot of them are now.
A lot of them are, because it's controversial. It gets
views and clicks.
They've been going one way, now all of a sudden they're going another way, and it causes conversation and stir. None of what any of them are doing is wrong for them. Okay? Be
goes
careful.
Back to the theme at the beginning.
Right. Just like you need to find out what works for you, whatever they're doing for them is what works. What we don't know and what we will never know. What I will never know about you, what you will never know about me unless I share it, is what is the motivation and why am I making a change? We don't know that about any of them. They may tell you some stuff, but they're not giving you the real. In many cases, it's unlikely they're giving you the full story. Okay? Be careful of having an emotional reaction to what someone else is doing for their health or their lifestyle or their preferences. If it's a warning sign, it's a trigger, it's a red flag. If you have an emotional reaction to what someone else is doing, you have to ask why.
Yeah.
Are you more tied to your identity as X, Y, or Z, and what they're deciding to do is now attacking your belief system?
Ooh.
Because if you're getting upset because someone else says something about how they made the decision to change, that is not a reflection of you. And if you feel like it is, maybe you're holding yourself back because you're not being open-minded about what other possibilities are out there for your own progress. Okay? So just be careful. And I'm not saying that that's what you're doing, Jen. I see this happen a lot. People get upset and they take it personal for some reason. Like, well, I can't believe that it's like, guys, that's them.
Yeah.
Who cares? It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Right? So don't identify with what you're doing to eat your food so much that you get upset because someone else decides not to eat the same way as you.
And then, I get what she's saying. She's not upset
Right.
at that, at what they're choosing to do. It's how they're characterizing now the carnivore diet as this horrible thing that nobody should do long term. And
that part I do, I get upset about that sometimes because like we talked about that before. It's how are you defining carnivore?
Right. Yep.
Right? How did you do it? And if they don't include that in the discussion, then it's not a fair conversation.
Right. They also don't include what else they did besides put carbs in.
Right.
That actually had a much bigger impact on their results than the
there
carbs
are people,
themselves.
guys, who are saying that they're adding carbs in and they're no longer carnivore because carnivore didn't work and they had to introduce carbs, and they're not telling you, oh, I'm also on GLP-1s. Oh, I'm also doing this. Oh, I'm also in this peptide. Oh, I'm also doing, like, you're not getting the full story most of the time. So just keep that in mind.
Yep.
Except for us. We give you the whole thing all the time.
We keep it real.
Well, because we don't do anything other than just eat meat. It's like we eat meat and we work out. What is there to, what else is there?
When I do my prep updates, I straight up show you my macros. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, look at that. I overate that day. Well, no wonder the scale didn't go down.
Right.
I can't be upset about it. I'm going to tell you.
I'm going to eat a keto brick today and I'll probably feel fat in the afternoon.
Okay, I have to speak on this real quick because this is something that comes up a lot. What are your thoughts on targeted?
So many good questions.
I know.
Ketonian's getting the keto
Getting the
today.
award today.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on targeted keto? I have to speak on this because I literally just responded to a client check-in this week who asked a question about, she didn't ask about carb cycling, but she asked, what do I think about, or do I have weeks where I'm more keto, weeks where I'm more carnivore in terms of my total carbs, weeks where I have 20 total carbs versus 0 total carbs or more than that. And then she asked about, I'm thinking I'm going carnivore and then maybe I'll put things in every once in a while for her workouts. And so I had to address this because the concept of targeted keto is that you are eating a keto diet, standard keto, let's say standard keto across the board.
Right, TKD, targeted ketogenic
Yeah, you're
diet.
doing an SKD. You're doing a standard ketogenic, and then you decide you're going to do targeted. Targeted means you're putting in a small amount of acute, quick digesting carbs like sugar, straight up sugar, dextrose powder or something like that, right before a workout as your pre-workout to have better energy, quick energy for your workout, yada, yada. This is what I was explaining to my client. When we are ketogenic, when we are following a ketogenic diet, carnivore, anything super low carb, even some athletes might be just low carb, might be 100 carbs a day, and still operating most of the time ketogenically because they burn through those carbs. They burn through the sugar really fast. So once you get under a certain amount of carbs to where you are ketogenic, you are not using carbs as your fuel source anymore. So let's say you're one of those people that can handle up to 75 grams of carbs, for example. Whether you're doing 10 grams today and 75 tomorrow shouldn't make a big difference, because that's not where your energy is coming from. So this concept, and I see it all the time in the carnivore space, there's somebody in particular that triggers me all the time.
Me too.
And you. About this
hyper-carnivore is only 70%.
And also, but you have to, if you really want to be optimized, you want to be the freak in the room, you have to. There's no better way to achieve this particular muscularity than to carb cycle. This is the optimal way to do it. If you are ketogenic, carnivore, you are thriving with fat as your fuel source, you are fat adapted, there is zero reason you need to do targeted carbs around your workouts.
There's no need. Any of the reasons, and again, if it's what you want to do and it works for you, because here's the catch, it can work. That doesn't mean it has to be done that way.
Yeah.
And this is, I don't know how else to, it's the hardest argument to tell someone, yes, that works. You can do it this way too.
Yeah, you don't have to do it that way.
And because that transition of doing it that way is 6 to 8 to 12 weeks before they see that it works, then it's not working. It's been 8 weeks and I still can't. Well, give it more time.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
But to what she was saying, the science documented is that there is no need and there is no benefit. I'm writing a paper right now. There is no benefit to adding carbs.
What was the quote you used the other day in one of your posts? If you need carbs to get a better workout,
then your nutrition sucks.
It's because you keep eating carbs.
Right.
To get a better workout.
Yeah.
If your workouts are better with carbs, you are not fat adapted. So make your choice, right? Make your choice, because once again, it goes back to the risk versus reward. Where are you at? Are you metabolically healthy? Are you lean? Are you active? Are you physically fit?
Well, here's another.
Can you handle the carbs? Would you rather have more carbs in there was a time where I was paleo, wasn't even keto, wasn't even low carb.
Yeah.
Just eat paleo.
This
if I was
is where
doing that, then maybe I would try carb cycling as a part of my process to have higher and lower carb days. And that might have worked fine for me because I loved eating that way and I was healthy and it wasn't negatively impacting me. But if you're a person who went keto for the benefits of keto, then targeted ketogenic, where you are putting quick amounts of straight up sugar in your body for a workout,
messing up the process.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's messing up the process.
Yeah.
This is one of the areas where Rob Sykes gets it right with the fat, increasing the fat.
Yes.
Right? Because here's the deal. Being metabolically flexible means your body is better able to utilize fat for energy at higher intensities and then convert that glycerol from the fat oxidation into glucose for energy. So being metabolically flexible, the challenge that people have who are approaching their training and nutrition protocols, being ketogenic, and I'm saying air quotes ketogenic, but using traditional concepts and mindsets
That's it.
and applying it to keto doesn't work, right? They're doing, we need to drop our calories so their fat is low. Then they're dropping their carbs. They're dropping their overall energy availability. And instead of training their body how to use fat, they're having to constantly replenish carbs in their mouth in order to have energy. Yes. If they just increase their fat, instead of being afraid, because this is it.
That's it.
They're afraid that increasing their fat is going to make them gain body fat.
Because they're still
operating off of the old standard nutrition thought processes. When you are ketogenic, you will by definition, you are increasing your fat burn.
What is your energy
source? So if you
That's all you have to
add some fat, instead of adding, this is what I don't understand. I'm going to cut everything down and then add in 30, 50 to 75 grams of carbs every day. Why not just add in 30, 50, 75 grams of fat every day?
And in fact,
And then
you
teach
only
my
need
body, and you would only need 30 to
half of
50.
it.
You'd only need half of it, really. You wouldn't even need the full 75. Just increase your fat intake, train your body to be more metabolically flexible, and stop relying on the carbs.
And here's your hack. Instead of targeted keto, take some electrolytes, pour them into the palm of your hand, and lick that salt. Chase it with a sip of water, and there's your pre-workout. I've been talking about that a lot lately because this keeps coming up. I'm like, take some highly concentrated electrolytes right before your workout, during intra-workout.
And depending on how you go, Nicol Antonio says to take up to 2 grams of sodium before a workout. It's a lot.
That's a lot. I don't do that much. I'll take like a part of a packet.
Okay, we got some stuff here. I was thinking we were going to be done, but we got some comments. Amy asked a question. Anyone have issues gaining weight, not muscle, but fat, on high-fat strict carnivore? I've been completely strict and gained 20 pounds and it's not muscle. Yes, stop doing high-fat.
Eat more protein, stop so much fat.
Here's the thought. Fat can make you fat. Okay? If you are gaining body fat, that means you're eating too much fat. Okay? No matter what anybody tells you, you can get fat eating fat. Okay? Yes, your insulin is low. Yes, you're not spiking your insulin if you're being 100% strict. That has nothing to do with it. Number one, you still do have an insulin response. It's not like insulin disappears from your body. It just functions better, and it will function and store what it has available to store. Okay, number one. Number two, excess body fat, excess fat intake has to go somewhere.
You don't just poop it out.
You don't just poop it out. Will you poop out some? Sure. Right? Yes, there will be fat that increases. We had this discussion as well.
Particularly if you're doing a lot in one meal.
Right, because there are people who are saying you can't overeat fat because your bile won't allow it. Your body's gonna die. Anything that's extra, you're just gonna poop out. Yeah, if you're eating 200 grams of fat in a meal, yes, your bile's gonna run out. You're gonna poop out a bunch of fat. Okay, but here's the deal. If you try to eat 200 grams of fat a meal 3 times a day, the percentage that does get absorbed by your body is going to be a lot more than what it needs to use for energy or anything else, and it will get stored as body fat. Okay? So, clarification of the statement. Is it possible to overeat fat in a meal? Not likely. Is it possible to overeat fat in a day?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, so when you're looking at your fat intake, we see it 100% of the time. I'm fairly comfortable saying 100% of the time. If you reduce your fat intake, you will reduce your body fat.
100%. And let me be very clear, the way I do my cuts, I don't play around with the ratios of fat to protein and all of that.
Yeah.
I keep my protein the same, I keep my carbs the same, and I just drop my fat year after year after year, show after show after show. It never doesn't work.
Yep, never doesn't work, right. It always works every single time.
So yeah.
People are just talking. Let's see. Don't get in. Salt shots are an absolute game changer.
We gotta do this one, babe. We gotta do this one. Can you become insulin resistant and even pre-diabetic from eating way too much protein? I've seen carnivores with high A1C.
Oh no, define high A1C first of all, Ketonian. I'd love to see what you think is high A1C, because if it's 5.8, that's not high.
And A1C is relative. What was the person's A1C before? Did it go up? Did it go up excessively? What
are all the other things? See, here's an issue that there are probably 3 numbers that drive me crazy when it comes to health and medicine. in the medical space. BMI
Ugh.
being used as a marker for anything.
Anything.
LDL.
Oh, yes.
Okay, someone asked about high cholesterol
Yep,
and
statins.
We're not going to address that here. We can't make any recommendations. I can tell you that based on our experience, statins are not worth it. That's all I can say. And then the third one is A1C.
Yeah.
A1C taken out of context, in my opinion, doesn't mean shit. Okay? My A1C for a while was 5.7, 5.8. Lately, it's been 5.5. I think the last time I did it was 5.3. But there was a period of time when I was a few years ago doing carnivore, it was high. No inflammation, no oxidative stress, no issues with kidney, every single marker. My HDL triglyceride ratio was excellent. Like every single marker is good, but my A1C was over 5.6. Oh my God, I'm pre-diabetic. I'm diabetic. Who cares? Do I have a symptom? No. Does my blood sugar respond the way it should respond? Yes.
Well, and this is the other.
Do I have any issues working out? Do I work out and get lightheaded? No. Like
the other thing to mention when it comes
everything
to
else
A1C
is fine. So who cares?
that it's not looking at what is happening with your blood sugar
I was
on
going
a
to talk
day-to-day.
about that. I'm so glad you said that.
It's an average across 3 months. You could have erratic
Yep.
blood sugar spikes and drops, and that's not good. We want blood sugar regulation.
And there is a thing, if you're concerned about your A1C, I tell you right now, go get a CGM, wear it for a few weeks. One CGM is good for what, 3 or 4 weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
So wear it for 2 weeks and look at what's called your glycemic variability. How high and low does your glucose get throughout the day? The larger the sweeps, the larger the range of high and low that you have, the higher risk you are of being insulin resistant and the higher risk you have of a bunch of other issues. More so than your overall A1C. Because you can have a high A1C, it just means your baseline is lower because you have less variability, or you can have a low A1C, but it's going up and down like this. That would be worse.
Right.
So you can have a low A1C and be at a higher risk of insulin resistance than someone who has a higher A1C than you.
Right.
So get a CGM and look at that variability. Look up median, if I can remember what this is. I'm going to look it up. What does MAGE mean? M-A-G-E.
Oh, right.
I always forget what it means. MAGE.
Glycemic variability.
What does it stand for?
Measure of the glycemic availability. Wait. Measure of glycemic variability.
Mean amplitude of glycemic excursion.
Ugh.
But look up MAGE, M-A-G-E, or just look up how to test or check glycemic variability, and it will give you.
Also, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of not trying to extrapolate a certain or assume, not make an assumption based on two things, right? So without the full context. Yeah. So carnivores with high A1C must mean that protein creates insulin resistance. How do we get there?
Right.
From the fact that you've seen some carnivores have high A1C. That's a lot of jumps to make to say, well, it must be that the protein is causing insulin resistance. Wait a minute.
And just because, and here's the other thing to keep in mind too, is 5.8 A1C for a carnivore the same as 5.8 A1C for someone who's carb-based?
That's a good question.
Is it the same?
Once again, we need more information.
We need more information.
Just look at the A1C.
Most of the people that you see that have a 5.8 also have high levels of muscle mass on their body. They have high levels of physical activity in their daily life.
And A1C
which
by
increases
itself,
glucose.
A1C
right?
by itself is not the marker for insulin resistance.
Correct.
Look at HOMA-IR.
Yeah.
Look at your fasting insulin.
Yeah,
You gotta look at
there's a
lot of other
handful of
things.
things. It's not just A1C. So hyperfixating on A1C is not going to get you somewhere. Look at it in context of all of these other things.
Yeah.
So I would,
Yeah.
yeah. So just keep that in mind.
And protein, while it may create a glucose rise, does not increase glucose like carbs do. It's nowhere near the spike you're going to get from carbs.
But here's the deal. This is something people don't know. And look this up yourself to verify, okay? Trust but verify. Go look it up. There are some proteins that have higher insulin responses than some carbs.
Once again, individual variances.
Individual variants.
And
So
you may react
take a look at that.
differently to something than somebody else. Also,
Which means even if there is a carb raise from the protein, the insulin response is still going to work and bring it back down again. So
also, what are you having the protein with?
Are
If
you
you
having
have
it with fat?
if you have a whey protein shake with water and it's literally just whey and water, or let's say you're having some milk and so it has a little bit of carbs in there with the whey, you'll get a much bigger spike than if you consume a fatty meat. If you're eating chicken breast by itself versus a fatty meat, right? So you have to look at all these things. Ooh, we've been
All right,
on
we've
for
been on
almost
for a
an
while.
hour and a half. There's
So,
such good chat
Ketonian,
today.
since you're on Instagram, could you send Nat your
me a
mailing
DM.
info, and we will get you a bag of Keto Brains
Bag
sent
of
to you.
Keto
Great
Brains
questions,
coming
everybody.
at ya.
On YouTube, thank you very much for the interaction. Please let everybody know. Don't forget InBody. If you're looking for a body composition scale, go to InBody. Prime BD 25 is the code, and you'll get a 25% discount off of a new at-home InBody scale. See you guys.
Thanks, guys. It's a great chat today.